Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Maarten Huppertz, Communications Advisor for Business Development at QuTech. We have two communications advisors. One is science, one is business development, so that does speak a little bit about what we do. Before I start, this is, if I may say so, and I think you would agree, quite a cocky title. But in our defense, this isn't what we sent in. This was actually meant to only go on the booth, the little desk in the booth area. What we sent in for the title was slightly, as a title for this speech, was slightly different and a bit more modest. But okay, it's true, and I saw it suddenly on the agenda, so I thought, okay, we'll stick with it. So Maarten, working at QuTech, we're mission-driven, valorization-driven, commercialization-driven quantum research institute. We're based in the Netherlands on the campus of the Delft University of Technology, and we employ around 350 people, most of whom are, of course, researchers. Our mission is to develop scalable prototypes of a quantum computer and an inherently safe quantum internet. So we are very much hardware focused. And just off campus, in the direct vicinity of the institute, you'll find an ecosystem of startups that employ around another 350 people. So we have 700 people working just for quantum in really just one rather small city. So what are we going to talk about today? I thought maybe let's look at what the Dutch most like to talk about. And that's, of course, firstly, the weather. There's no way around that. It's probably the same everywhere. Typical Dutch picture there, someone on a bike in the rain. We actually have more than 20 words for rain. What do we like to talk about most as well? Money. I'll confess, we're no different. The rest is sports, football/soccer, and Dutch racing legend and three-time world champion Max Verstappen, who is famous for always being terribly honest and straightforward, like most of us, and whom somehow all 17 million of us seem to know personally. So let's talk about government, let's talk about government funding, and let's talk about what Matt Johnson said in his first speech today, when he mentioned that quantum in the Netherlands was quite big and quite successful. Why is that? Why do we have 700 people just working on quantum in a small city? How did we ever get there, the small country that we are? It's government funding. Through the Dutch National Growth Fund, the Dutch government has earmarked 20 billion euros, or $22 billion, for the 2021 to 2025 period for projects that have a high potential for structural and durable economic growth. So this is all very much economic impact driven. In the first tranche, in 2021, the first year, quantum in the Netherlands immediately received 615 million euros, or $670 million from that fund. I think the other two projects that year were in infrastructure, and with later additions even, and also additions from the National Agenda for Quantum Technology. So this is quite a lot of money for a small country like us, and the institute receiving all these funds is Quantum Delta Netherlands. They're like an overarching organization for quantum in the Netherlands. They have their own terrific projects, but what they also do is their task is to divide all of this money among all the institutes in the Netherlands that work on quantum. They're very much economic impact driven. Their goal is to have 100 startups in the Netherlands, quantum startups in the Netherlands by the year 2027, to have 2,000 engineers and PhDs working in quantum by that year, and also to have three large corporate R&D labs. Quickly, why Delta? Well, the Netherlands is a delta, of course. I mean, a quarter of the city of the country is below sea level, never mind next to the sea. But it's also a great acronym for the cities and universities in the Netherlands that have the larger quantum projects. I'd like to just point out Amsterdam here, who have their famous quantum application lab. They're in the Quantum Delta booth, which is the first booth when you walk into on the left, when you walk into the exhibition area. They're in that booth as well. In fact, they brought along a lot of quantum in the Netherlands. QuTech is is a collaboration between Delft University of Technology and the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research, or TNO, who are also in the booth. QuTech receives by far the most money of the biggest funds of everything that Quantum Delta has to give out. And it's not just the National Growth Fund, there's additional funding from Europe and other entities as well. We were founded in 2014 and immediately got the status of a national icon right in that first year. And when the organization was started, the governing partners, so that's the university, TNO, but also two ministries and other organizations, they immediately made available $150 million to get the organization started. So Delft had been doing quite okay in terms of quantum tech research. There were some nice milestones in the 90s already, and even before that. But I think it's a very fair point that it's all of these investments and at a relatively early stage that have made us become, or have at least helped us become one of the leading research institutes, quantum research institutes in the world. This is the university, by the way. The Battlestar Galactica that you see on the left there, to use a nice 80s reference, is the aula. And Applied Sciences and QuTech are right next to it, and TNO is right next to that. But here are some of our results to show that indeed we're doing quite well. This is quantum communications, and looking at some parameters, we're only second to China, it seems. We've always been, because we're mission-driven, we've always been valorization-driven. I mean, that economic impact has always been a big part of our DNA. The researchers who join us now know this. They're not going to do just basic or fundamental scientific research. But there are other ways where you see our valorization happen. If it's collaborations with larger industry partners like Intel, Fujitsu, and Microsoft, there the valorization is immediately apparent. That's the whole goal of the collaboration. We're very happy with our partnership, I can say, with Fujitsu, who have a stand here as well, as you've maybe already seen. But we're most proud of our cool startups. These are only the Delft ones, and all of them, or most of them, came out of QuTech. They find their origins there, or their actual spin-offs, or even actual spin-outs. Two quick notes to mark here, apart from the fact that Qblocks and Orange Quantum are here these 3 days as well in the Quantum Delta booth. Qblocks isn't really a startup anymore. They've been around for 5 years. They've grown to 85 people, so they're not small by any means. That's all autonomous growth, by the way. And actually, this whole ecosystem year on year grows in the double digits. So that's part of, we could say, economic impact that we're having. How do we support these startups? Well, one thing is the House of Quantum, or the Houses of Quantum. You'll find these in all the major quantum universities, near all major quantum universities in the Netherlands, or you will find them. Some are being built. In Delft, we have 2 buildings. The second one in the bottom right, that one will open in a couple of months, but it's already fully booked. And a third building is scheduled to start construction later in the next year. Here in these houses of quantum, startups will find affordable like office space, but also access to lab facilities. And I think they even have clean rooms. So not just your general office. This is Prince Constantine of Orange, toasting, who's very much interested in tech, toasting at the opening of the first house of quantum. And what you see nowadays is research projects at QuTech even starting with the sole purpose of starting a quantum company by the end of it. So using the IP that's going to be developed for a startup that we know will happen in a couple of years. That isn't always the case. So how do we find and entice people to, our researchers, to start their own business? We have 3 programs. We have the Spark program for ideators. We have the tech transfer program, as all major universities have, to help them get on their way. And for people joining us from the outside who might want to settle in the Netherlands, we have the soft landing programs. Let's go through all of them just really quickly. The first one, the Spark program, aimed at ideators. Steve Walsh, who's a professor at the University of New Mexico and Twente, who studies these things, who studies things like success and fail factors. He gives this 2-part, 2-day course for people who might be interested in starting their own company. It's things like general business skills that they're being taught, but also writing a business plan and a sales story. And this over a period of 2 days indeed, so there's a lot of interactivity there. And even if they don't start their own company, we'll tell them, guys, you can't all become professors. We have a couple hundred researchers here. A lot of you will work in like an industry or in consultancy, so you'll need entrepreneurial skills and an entrepreneurial attitude anyway. Then the tech transfer program. If the decision has been made by a researcher to start their own company, or it could be 2 researchers together, they'll get their own support team, they'll get their own dedicated coach. As mentioned, we'll help them with funding, with housing, we'll even help them with some early funding, small amounts, 5K, 10K, 25K, just for the really the first start. And one thing that we try to do, and maybe we do this a bit differently than in other places, is we try to really at a very early stage to transfer the IP to them, the IP that they're working on. So this can be tough negotiations because it's early days still, but it's important for them to be able to show their IP already on the balance sheet in order to get investment. We can also help them we can also support them getting grants and other funding, and we'll involve them in projects where often QuTech is a coordinator. So that creates some work for them as well. But these collaborations, in fact, in the last years we've seen that when we're collaborating with the ecosystem, it's actually become a very big part of our overall effort to advance quantum technology. It's not just giving them some nice research to do. The soft landing program, a nice example is QNect, or QNect is a nice example of a company that's going to come. They're a US company. They're based in New York, and they're going to come to Delft. They're going to set up base in the House of Quantum. They've created a Dutch legal entity in order to have a base in Europe, because it's getting, especially in communications, harder and harder to do business between Europe and America because of all the restrictions. So they didn't actually use the soft landing program, but they could have. It's a Quantum Delta program, but in Delft we of course have our own version of it. We can help you set up the legal entity. We can help you with housing. It could be House of Quantum, could be other examples. And we can just help you settle in like we do with our researchers too, who come from all over the world as well. So concluding, I would like to say, come to Holland. Apart from the fact that you'll be able to see our house from pretty much everywhere in the country, that's how flat it is. We'll always be very open and straightforward with you, like Max Verstappen. We're rudely direct. Our English is very well, and it's not just us saying that, it's the World Economic Forum as well. We're always in the top 5 of attractive companies to invest or settle in, although there might be a tax component to that as well. We have a large concentration of quantum talent. These 700 people in Delft aren't the only ones. It's quite a lot of people. So we have to get them from all over the world, and which is really cool as well. We're a very diverse country in quantum. And just at QuTech, we have 50 nationalities working for us. And lastly, we don't really have 20 words for rain. Often the weather is just as in that nice stock picture. We do have 20 words for beer, I just heard from a colleague. So the social aspect is nice too. And that's it for us. Thank you very much for your attention. You can find me in booth D1.